Hello everyone and welcome back. I am Lover's Lance.
And I'm Morik. Today we're walking between the veil of the living and the dead into Devil's Liminal, the Yuri horror visual novel that's as atmospheric as it is soul-wrenching.
We're thrilled to be joined by Renée, the game's designer and studio lead. Welcome. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself and what your role in this project is?
Hello, I'm Renée. I'm the lead of Studio Interlude. So I started this studio this year. Previous to this, I've been working in the game industry for 11 years. I've worked at a couple of AAA studios, but I wanted to move on to focusing on indie development full time. And I think I mentioned I'm the solo developer on the game. So I've been doing all of the writing, the coding, most of the art, and then the direction for everything else. And then I've had some help with some of the background art, the music, and the voice acting.
Wow, that's quite a lot.
Yeah, that's why it's been taking a while.
But you also have a lot of experience, 11 years in the game industry. Wow.
Yeah, it's
even in AAA studios.
Yeah.
What actually inspired you to move away from the AAA scene?
Yeah,
Was it something inherently with it, or did you just want it to do your own thing?
I guess the short answer would be I wanted to do my own thing. I mean, it's definitely been fun, and it was my little kid dream job, you know? But I think even at the start, when I was in college and starting to apply for work, my whole goal was, all right, one day I'll have my own studio and I'll be game director. So I think I finally got to a point in my career where I had been in a leadership capacity at these other studios and done a lot of kind of generalist game design and technical design work and some coding. So I finally felt like, all right, now I'm prepared to strike out on my own.
Okay, that's quite inspiring, actually. So basically accumulated enough experience and went, okay, I'm gonna do my own thing now.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you planning to invite more people in your team, or you're planning to keep it solo?
I guess right now I'm planning on keeping it solo because the whole reason is, I guess another part of my background is that I studied studio art, so painting and digital art. So I think at heart, I'm pretty creative and have like a pretty clear vision of how I want things to look. So I think that's works best as a solo developer and commissioning people to help rather than bringing in other very driven creative people and then butting heads, you know. But I guess there's also another version of events where, let's say the game does super well and then, you know, we're just bringing in money and the next project is super ambitious. And then it's like, all right, it makes the most sense to have the scale of game I would want by having people on full time. But right now, that's kind of a pipe dream.
Might become a reality, depending on how this game does.
Yeah, here's to hoping.
Here's to hoping.
So, let's start with the story behind the story. What actually inspired Devil's Liminal?
Yeah, so the initial inspiration is when I myself was an 18-year-old waiting for college, at home, working, all that. During that summer, I was working on a blog and I wanted to do it in the format of kind of a web art project. I never put it online anywhere. I just kind of kept it locally on my computer, but that was something I was working on. And I always kind of dreamed of expanding that into a cohesive story and putting that out there. So here we are, 15 years later, and I'm finally doing that. And then I guess some other inspirations were, in the summary for the game, I mentioned that there's a lot of inspiration from Azores folklore. Part of that comes from part of my family's from the Azores. So I started digging into that, visited there, got really interested, wanted to incorporate some of that in the game. Also because it's a setting I haven't really seen in any other stories. I think I only know of a couple of things that take place in the Azores. And then the other thing is that when I was in university, I took some classes that really inspired me. I took a class on 1800s literature, and I took a class on Tibetan Buddhism as a framework for healthcare.
Okay,
Great.
So you've basically been having this cooking for 15 years, the general concept of the game.
Yep.
And
I'm a little bit scared. Like, all of this comes from your own experience. I don't want to know what happened to you that summer.
The joke I like to say is only the demon stuff happened to me. All the other stuff I made up.
Only the demon stuff.
Yeah,
okay, so
demon
nothing
stuff.
to worry about.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm fine.
So, speaking of the game, could you give us a quick summary of it for our listeners who haven't played it yet?
Sure. So to make it short, so the summary is Margot. She spends a couple of years in private school, and she was away from her hometown. And she graduated. Now she's back in her hometown, waiting for the college school year to start. But now she's back to her normal life of she lives in this low-income neighborhood. She lives in a trailer. Her father passed away. She has a bad relationship with her mother. So she's just trying to, keep low, just get through the summer. Then she runs into a mysterious cat. And she runs into an old friend that she knew when she was a little kid. And from meeting these people, the cat turns out to be another girl. From meeting these people, she finds out that she has a blood bond with them. And that is tied to a demonic pact that Margot made at some point in her life. She doesn't know when or why. So they're trying to help her resolve this. But then she also starts having these nightmares about a hungry ghost. And from Clara, she finds out that hungry ghosts can visit the living in the 7th lunar month. And that coincides with September, which is also the start of the college school year. So she has until the end of the summer to resolve the demonic pact, these blood bonds, and the hungry ghost.
The first part of the story is very relatable. The second part, I wish I won't relate to that ever in my life, because it's some scary stuff. So, a lot of players said that they connected with the game's take on trauma, memory, complicated relationships, family stuff. So how did you go about portraying those themes without feeling heavy-handed?
Yeah, so again, a little more about my educational background. I studied a few things. It's a long story. But one of the things I studied in college was psychology. I had a focus on school psychology, and this was particularly in New Orleans shortly after Hurricane Katrina. So a lot of this was looking at how poverty and trauma affect educational and later life outcomes. So this is some topics I've studied. They're very important to me, and I guess I wanted to portray them in a very authentic way, in a sort of story fairy tale setting. But I also didn't want it to feel really too heavy and burdenous on the player. Part of how I approach that is making sure the plot is balanced. So there's the slice of life things, there's Margot's job, there's going to the mall with friends, there's the romantic relationships. So especially with Margot's job, I wanted to make sure she has a good relationship with her boss, she has a good relationship with the residents at the veterans home, with the hometown friends. There's some conflict that comes up, but I think comparatively it's rather light. And then with the romantic interests, I wanted to make sure that a big part of their relationship is they emotionally connect with Margot and her romantic interests, that they empathize with each other and support each other. So it's, even with people who have a lot of these heavy things going on in life, like they do have otherwise like other normal concerns and other normal social aspects to their life. So I thought that was important to depict as well.
Yeah, you did a really good job. I also very much started to dread returning home while playing. Like outside felt safer than the trailer. So yeah, everything from that side, great job.
Thank you.
You managed to, sorry, Morek, but I just want to have a comment here. You managed to make a very thin balance between the slice of life part of the game, like it felt incredibly real, and then the creepy stuff going on at the same time. And having the slice of life stuff having the slice of life stuff being so real makes the creepy stuff feel real as well. Just so you know. Like I was genuinely scared during the game, even though I enjoyed it very much. It was
Scary.
scary. Yes.
I also like how the Margot reacts to the supernatural things that start appearing in her life, because I would react the exact same way. I would be trying to figure out if it's even real at first, and then just go with the flow and see where that takes me.
Yeah.
Speaking about the scary parts, so the ritual scenes, the ghosts, the dreams, the nightmares, demon encounters, that whole vibe hits very hard. Can you tell us about those stories? How you mentioned that they're inspired by folklore, and can you tell us more about the folklore in question?
Yeah. So the first inspiration is when I was first drafting the game, I was listening to a lot of podcasts, so a lot of true crime, podcasts about cults and then about the occult. So I think there's some obvious elements of that sprinkled in. And then some of it is also things that I've seen since I did grow up in Arizona. So as a little kid, sometimes we would just go out in the desert and wander around and see weird stuff and just be like, oh, well, that's just how it is. So it's like, for example, the scenes with the burnt out car out in the desert. That's just a thing I've seen.
Oh, you just actually encountered it.
Yeah, just a casual stroll out in the desert. You see a shot up, a burnt out car, moving on. Yeah,
I have a question. Sorry.
Oh, sure, go
Continue.
ahead.
No, it was about the true crime that you listened to. Did you watch Bailey by any chance?
No, I don't know that one.
So she's very cute. I will just throw a little recommendation here. She's very cute. She does makeup while she gives us the true crime stories, and she makes it feel very casual, everything. So she's quite nice. You might want to try her out. And I just wanted to say that I enjoy true crime a lot as well. Like that's what I put on when I'm going to sleep. And my boyfriend thinks I'm crazy because of that.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of got past true crime because I moved to the Netherlands from the United States. And in the Netherlands, I mean, everywhere has crime, but there's a lot less here and a lot less random. So then I'm listening to these podcasts and they do kind of episodes about where they're touring. And then they get to the Netherlands and they say, well, we've got nothing to say. Congratulations.
No true crime here.
Yeah, honestly.
So last weekend I was in the Netherlands, and it was like, for me, it was a shock, like a cultural shock. Everything is so nicely made, organized. Everything. Like, it's a great country. Everything is made in a way that can be easy for the user.
Yeah, it's very ergonomic for sure.
Why did you decide to move to the Netherlands?
So that was for work. It was just I was working at some studios here, so they brought me in.
Nice.
And you decided to stay.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get on it a little later, but yeah, I got married, got a house, the whole bit.
Very, very nice. I hope that you like it in Europe. I guess it's a different world compared to the States.
I'm very happy to be here.
So nice.
Yeah. Do you want me to finish about the scary stuff?
Sorry. Yes, please.
Oh, no worries. But yeah, I'm excited for that part too. But I'm like, scary stuff. I have so much to unload about.
Yes, continue.
Yes,
we need scary stuff.
We're out in the desert. There's burnt out cars. All right. So then also, Clara's grimoire is also based on some stuff I've seen. So the pictures of it are actually from photos of a book that I bought at a thrift store. And then some other parts of it are based on a book that I saw at a bus stop, but I just left that there. So yeah, some of it's things that I've seen. And then for the folklore parts, so the folklore is based on 3 things. So there's some elements from Buddhist folklore, from the Azores folklore, and from Faustian stories. So with all this, I would say I'm not an expert and I'm kind of paraphrasing, so I apologize if I get anything wrong for people who know more than me. But with the hungry ghost and the demon, so those are things I borrowed from Buddhism. So the idea of a hungry ghost is someone who is greedy in life and then has a subsequent lifetime where they cannot feel satiated, or with the demon, it's like a type of being that's different from a human, lives in a different kind of plane of existence, and has a different motivation. Like they feel a lot of like jealousy is what motivates them. So I like with these things that it's like, these aren't really stories that are about good and evil, good versus evil, but instead it's just about like different inherent drives. And then with the Azores stuff, that's some things that'll come up in the story a little later. So some stuff that's past the demo. So there's things about volcanic caves that lead to hell, and Flemish necromancers, and the islands being part of Atlantis, and lakes that are formed by the tears of separated lovers. So I found all these things like very like compelling imagery. And then, like I mentioned, with taking classes on 1800s literature, I got really interested in Faustian stories and Faustian bargains, and how it's like, ooh, how can these other tales kind of fit into it? Because I feel like everywhere in the world you find stories about like demons trying to tempt people with the thing they really want.
Okay, that's quite interesting. I've actually heard about Hunger Ghosts before, and exactly from Buddhist tales. And I did know what they were, and I didn't know if the one in the game was from the same type of Hungry Ghost. And I'm actually quite happy that I know something already about it.
You have quite a lot planned for the end game. Like, I told the demo itself it feels like a separate small story that has its ending and everything. But now when you're mentioning all of these stuff that are coming, oh god, this is gonna be exciting.
Yeah, it pops off.
So let's get back to the relationships, I guess.
Yes.
Enough scary stuff.
For now.
So we get to meet some love interests in the demo, and there are 2 romance routes there. Can you please tell us more about how it was writing Beck and Clara for the game?
Yeah, so with writing Beck and Clara, I wanted them to feel like pretty different routes, but still significant to the bigger plot. So with Beck, up front, she's more upbeat, more interested in Margot, more reassuring and supportive. But then with her, the more you get to know her, the more you're uncovering her secrets and her sort of hidden dark side. And then with Clara, it's a bit of the reverse, where you get the scary part of Clara up front, but if you stick by her side, she starts to open up. You learn more about her life, and she has like a very soft and sweet side to her that I'm excited for people to see. So like I said, both of them, they're tied to the bigger plot, but it's like different pieces of it.
That translates perfectly, because at the start I didn't really trust Clara, but I did trust Beck. And then happened the part where she showed up in my bedroom and I didn't know what to think. It's like, wait, you can't just walk into someone's bedroom.
Honestly, I liked them both. Like, it was a hard choice for me to decide, am I going to go after Beck or after Clara? Like, both of them were very, very well written, and I wanted to explore their stories more in the game. So I ended up with Clara because, you know, you always want the thing you can't have, really. So, yeah.
Was Beck inspired by someone in particular?
Yes. So Beck is inspired by my wife. Part of the reason I'm still in the Netherlands.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So when I first started, like, really in earnest writing the story, it was during COVID. Familiar story, I'm sure, for a lot of people.
Yes.
So that was also around when my wife and we first started dating, and then just a few months in, and now we're living together. But obviously that went well. So I'm writing this, sharing it with my now wife. Beck was her favorite character. So then more and more, I guess it's because you want to entertain your biggest fan. So it's like I'm adding like more things that are based on my wife's personality and based on stuff we did together. So that's how Beck evolved. And then another big part is that my wife is trans. So then it ended up feeling like a very natural fit that Beck is also trans.
Okay, that's quite cute that you basically have a homage to your wife in the game.
Yes. But I will say that unlike Beck, my wife does not have a dark side, just the nice upbeat stuff.
Just the nice upbeat side.
Oh.
Yeah, my wife's never broken into my home or anything. That's just a Beck thing.
Oh, so that's not how you met.
No.
And she can't actually break in your home because you're living together. So
Yeah. She has keys.
She has keys.
Do you have a cat by any chance?
Oh, yes. When we first got together, I have my cat Kitty. She did pass away a couple years ago, sadly. But that is the cat that Clara, her initial form is based on. That's just a drawing of Kitty, basically. And now I have a little hairless cat named Salem.
Wow.
Oh, that's a nice name. Also, the moment you said you had a cat, I was going to ask if the cat if Clara's cat form in the game was based on it. You pretty much answered it immediately.
Yeah, that was where I was going with that question, actually. So, we know that Clara has a totally different energy compared to Beck. Can you share a bit about her story with us?
Yeah, so with Clara, like I said, that's more about trying to stick with Clara and help her open up and kind of helping her with what's going on with her situation. So her route is you start to learn about how she grew up. So there's a bit of that in the dreams in the demo. You start to find out why she was a cat. And then after the demo, we start meeting people from Clara's past. And then I think a fun fact about Clara, in contrast to Beck, is that some of the stuff about Clara's personality is based on me. So I was thinking about like when I was a grumpy teenager and I was really obsessed with the book, The Da Vinci Code. So I'm like, all right, I'll give Clara some of that personality.
That's
Good. So you basically based one of the love interests on your wife and the other one on yourself.
Yeah.
And your cat.
Yes.
And your cat.
Yes.
So cute. That's very cute. Like, this explains why the characters have that much layers, you know.
We also noticed that there's quite a bit of dream logic and dialogue choices that feel complex and surreal in the game. How important was it for you to make the players feel kind of disorientation or haunted by their choices as the game goes on?
Yeah, it was very important. I wanted to capture that feeling because, I mean, like we said, like the game goes into some darker themes. So one of them is about domestic violence. So with that, it's so my thing here is I feel like almost every culture, perhaps every culture, is family is very important. There's an assumption that family is always loves you and does what's in your best interest. So for people who are in a domestic violence situation, it's hard to tell people what's going on and hard to be believed that that's what's going on and hard for yourself to believe that that's what's happening. And especially as a teenager, often it's like, oh, you're just trying to get attention or, oh, you're acting out, that sort of thing. So I wanted to get the player to understand that headspace. So the dialogue choices are kind of in conflict of standing up for yourself and maybe making an argument worse and versus being passive, but it's for your self-preservation. Or if you're prioritizing yourself or a family member, but it's someone who may not have your interests at heart. So it's a lot of that sort of conflict with societal pressure and kind of understanding your own situation.
I see.
Yeah. That's the part I related to the most, maybe, because my mom used to tell me, you can't trust no one, you can only trust your family. Well, funny.
Yeah.
It didn't really work out that well in the end. Like, we're in with good communication at this point, but I'm not gonna go into detail, but I really related to that part, and I felt exactly what you meant with the social pressure and your family telling you you should care only about us, we love you the most of everyone, nobody's gonna love you the way I do, and stuff like that, which sounds very toxic, by the way, when you think about it.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah, it's like, it's very common, and, you know, people just feel really weird about talking about it.
Yeah, I personally very much resonate with the whole stay quiet, don't speak your mind to avoid conflict, because I too have a complicated relationship with my father. But yeah, that was it. As you said, it's basically a survival mechanism. Just stay quiet and let it pass.
Or the other choice is don't stay quiet and let everything burn. And yeah, that's the two paths you can take, basically.
Yeah.
But if you manage to have when you move out, actually everything changes.
It does.
Yeah, and if you manage to talk with your parents and to figure stuff out, it could actually end well and to have like meaningful relationships. But honestly, most of the people are so scarred because of the bad relationships they had with their parents, and those years are very important because you're growing up and you're forming your character and stuff like that. So if they manage to deliver you a significant amount of trauma, sometimes you can't really recover. So yeah, we went a little bit into the rabbit hole. I'm sorry for that.
That's all right.
Let's maybe shift to something more pleasing and talk a little bit about the aesthetics of the game. So the art style feels like somewhere between a memory and a nightmare. What was your visual direction when you created the visuals and the backgrounds and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I think overall I wanted the art to feel kind of retro, kind of old school, 90s, alternative, a lot of goth aesthetics. So I think some specific influences are the Irish artist Harry Clark. He did stained glass and illustrations for some books. And then also the visual novel Enema Mundi, Dark Alchemist was a big inspiration. So yeah, I was definitely, like you said, wanting to capture that memory feeling. I wanted to feel like a very specific time in a specific place. And then a lot of the art is sort of based on photos in real life places. So I wanted to make sure it's like you feel like this is rural Arizona. We are in the 2000s. That's where we are. And then another thing of it is that, in truth, a lot of the decisions are utilitarian. So with it being moody, black and white, the dithered sort of comic style, that was just to make sure it was pretty easy to keep it cohesive.
It actually reminds me a lot of those old, not the art style itself, but the presentation of the game reminds me a lot of those old horror text games. Have you ever played one of those that you get described something and you input what you want to do?
I know what you're talking about, but then my mind went to the ones that are like the Windows 98 3D ones where you kind of
some do have
mist,
like visuals like that, yeah. But it does give me that similar vibe at times.
I must say that I love the decision to make everything black and white. By the way, it made it more immersive for some reason. I don't know, maybe if it was colorful it wouldn't be so creepy, so the black and white aesthetic was definitely creepier in a way. So very nice decision there. I love it.
And also the soundtrack, honestly I think it makes the atmosphere for the game. It's especially the creepier moments, like when you encounter the hungry ghost for the first time in the bathroom. Can you share a bit about the process of building that haunting sound design?
Yeah, so when I was looking for a musician, I really wanted someone who was experienced with alternative music. Like I mentioned earlier, goth is a big influence, and then also grunge and shoegaze. So the musician I found, Daniel Tellis, they used to be in goth bands, and I feel like we are on the same wavelength when it comes to music. So they've been perfect. So for each character and sort of scene and setting, we talked about what genres would be the influence, and then I would make playlists that we would talk about. So I could talk a little bit about what each character, the idea for them was. So for Margot, it's shoegaze and grunge. For Beck, it's riot girl and pop punk. For Clara, it's kind of general 90s alternative with some classical and bossa nova. And then with the ghost, like you mentioned, we were going for that ambient, the noise kind of feel, and more of a atmospheric tracks. And then we made some new tracks. In the demo, you hear one of them towards the end, but there's some more that are for scenes that relate to the demon of the demonic pact. So with those tracks, I think those are pretty special because I wanted to use an instrument from the Azores. Probably pronouncing these things wrong, but the viola da terra. So that's an instrument that's between a lute and a guitar, and it's special because it has some extra chords and it has 2 hearts. So I want to have that instrumental sound in the tracks, so it improvised a bit with some sampling and with using a capira viola and tuning it to be as similar to the viola da terra as we could get.
Okay, that's great. So actually the whole track you went through for each character and made their own sound for them, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. I've never heard of that.
You also have...
Yeah, continue.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I've never heard of that instrument before, and now I'm curious how it looks.
Oh yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, I have a funny story about it because I got one, but it was a bit of a hassle to get one. So when I went to the Azores, I thought, well, obviously this is where I'll get this instrument from the Azores. I'll get it in the Azores. I go to a music store. I ask them for one. I ask where I can buy one. And they tell me, well, the only place you can get it is if you order online. So I just went back home and just ordered it online.
So they don't even have it there?
They have, it sounds like there's just one, like only a couple people who make them, but I mean, they have a bit of a backlog, so it's a whole thing to get a custom made one.
Yeah, a lot of the obscure instruments out there, you can't really just buy them, you need to have them ordered because not a lot of people want them, so only a few people make them.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Tomans have it on their website, so it's not so obscure, honestly.
Okay.
Like, I just checked. It's fine. But I'm very, very interested into hearing how does it sound, honestly. So, talking about the sound design of the game, I have a question about the voice acting. So we've got partial voice acting in the demo. So how did you cast the voices for the characters, and are you actually planning to shift into full voice acting in the future?
So for casting, I worked with Very Berry Studios. They helped a lot, got the casting call out there, narrowed down the choices, made it a very smooth process. So I can talk a bit about each character. So for Beck, wanted to make sure that her voice actor was trans and could capture that she's a very sweet personality, has this sort of like cool California girl attitude, and also be able to do some spooky, unnerving line delivery. With Margot and Clara, I wanted to make sure that their voice actors were BIPOC, especially because the story takes place in a border town. And then with Margot's voice actor, like she had to be able to balance having these shy and timid moments, but also standing up for herself and having like righteous indignation behind her voice. And then with Clara, I needed to be someone who could be intimidating, but also a very cute and soft voice. So with all of them, I think really lucked out and found some great people, and I'm very happy with the voice acting. And then as for full voice acting, that's another one that's like, that would be amazing. Definitely a blue sky goal. But I guess for now it's a bit expensive and time consuming to implement. So no promises there.
So it's a maybe.
Yeah. I mean, if this game does great and we're making like the Game of the Year edition, maybe, sure.
Okay.
So I really love the voice acting, by the way. It matched the art so good.
Yeah,
like
it fit
that.
the characters perfectly.
Yeah.
And now for a little bit about the feedback you've received and what's in the future for the game. How has the fandom been reacting to the game so far? Has it been exciting to see all the support?
Yeah, it has been, I would say, shockingly positive. So it's like, I don't really have an online presence. Like, I think I'm pretty awkward online. So I was pretty surprised that people were so positive and supportive and encouraging. I'm really glad that the story and the characters resonate with people. I definitely was trying to tell a very sincere story, and I'm glad that people picked up on that. I guess I'm just really appreciative of it.
It's a good story. Of course, people are going to be positive towards it. I mean,
Thank you.
There's effort put into it is showing.
And also, I don't think that, sorry, Morik, for interrupting you, but I don't think you're awkward at all.
Well, that's because we're talking.
Still, it's still online, right?
Yeah, I guess. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like when I'm like making a post on Blue Sky or Tumblr or something, I feel like I type like a robot. Maybe it's because, like I said, I did a lot of like academic work. So I feel like when I'm just writing for fun, I still write very to the point and it's very stiff. I don't know.
I get you.
When it's a thing that we also do sometimes, we tend to write very professionally.
Yes.
When trying to communicate with people, and it comes out as you said, a bit automated sounding.
Yeah. Not only automated, but it's like a 50 years old lady that works in the municipality. You know?
Yeah, it's very bureaucratic.
Very bureaucratic.
Yeah, I get you there, but you'll get used to it. Like, at some point, you learn how to communicate with people online in a friendly manner. Just have to get exposed more to that. I mean, like, the more you talk to people, the better it will end up. Like, at least for the podcast, when we started contacting people, trust me, it was awful. Like, we had no struggling idea, a lot.
A bit over our heads.
Yeah.
Those earlier episodes.
Yeah. And in the process, we realized that it doesn't have to be like that stiff. It's not a TV show. It's a podcast, so we can just talk about random bullshit in the process and it will be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, just talk to the person like you would talk to a person, basically.
And let's get back on track with the questions. I have one very, very important question. I need to know what's the development status of the game. When can we expect the full version? And I really want to see all of the things you mentioned. So yeah, that's why it's important for me to know.
Yes. So the full game, it'll for sure be out early next year or end of this year if I'm really cruising through. Like I said, it's kind of hard to nail down a specific date since I'm solo developing, but now I'm working on it solo full-time. So like I said, latest early next year. And then exciting thing is in the next couple of weeks, I'm looking at doing a soft launch of a early access version on itch.io. So that way people can follow along from month to month as I'm adding new content to it. And that's also kind of accountability for me, but also if people are excited to get in on it early and see some of this progress for themselves. And then in general, it's kind of funny because I've had the full plot and everything mapped out for a couple of years now, and I've had the first draft done for a long while, like a couple of years now. But like I said, only recently I've been able to work on this full time, so that's why it's been taking a while. But it's like the plot is set. We know what's going to happen. So now it's just a matter of me getting all the details in, the flavor in, polishing up art, adding more art and character sprites, that sort of thing. And I guess like a little more of side plot and dates and all the good stuff.
I have a question here.
Yes.
Are you planning to add like additional main character? Because a lot of games tend to do that lately, in the beginning of the game to choose either you want to play this character or that character.
Oh, for the player character?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just sticking with Margot. This is like very much, because I know what you mean that there's ones where you can pick a different sprite or you can pick this or that. But I guess it's like, with this, I guess I just really have Margot in mind and what she's kind of going through, and it's, at least for this particular story, it's a little hard for me to imagine who else it would be.
This is her story, basically.
I was thinking about maybe having the story from Clara's eyes, for example.
That
would be very interesting. Yeah. Maybe as a DLC or something. I don't know.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because sometimes just for fun, like talking with my wife about the game, we've talked about, like you said, like, if we were to do DLC or a fan disc or something, what that story would be. So I actually have thought about like, would it be interesting to do a game that's from Clara's perspective and it's Clara's backstory, or doing an equivalent with Beck, or doing a prologue, or not prologue, an epilogue sequel that would be like what would happen with the bad worst ending and then what are the events after that. But yeah, all this is sort of speculative, so we'll see. I guess right now it's like working on the base game has been such a task, so I'm like trying to really keep a narrow focus on it.
Yeah. I understand, but it's just, I don't know, I wanted to throw this just as in a preposition. Like, I really hope things to end good with your game, like to get a lot of attention and you to be able to actually create more of this world, because it feels like you did that with a lot of love in your heart in this project, and the details and everything. Like, it's a very, very nice game, so I would love to see more.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we'll see. I've also been thinking about on my Patreon. Right now, it's in its infancy, so I'm working on getting stuff in there. But on my Patreon, I've been thinking about releasing some side stories. So like you said, like maybe some more little tidbits from Clara and Beck's perspective.
That would be interesting. I also getting... now that Lover's Lens mentioned it, getting things from Clara's perspective is probably going to be very interesting.
Yeah, she's a wild card.
Everyone go support Renée's Patreon. We're gonna link it in the description and in the article as well. We need to see those stuff. Thank you, everyone.
So next, I want to ask about the exclusive content, the question. We have this on each of our podcasts. Do you have anything that you can show us that maybe early art or concepts that you've thought of? Anything exclusive really that the listeners might enjoy?
Or maybe a backstory, I don't know.
Or a backstory.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm like, what would be too spoilery? Oh, that's the hardest part, honestly. But I guess I was going to talk a little bit about some early concepts I had for the game. So I guess a very basic one is when I was first working on it, I wrote it from first person since that's pretty popular for visual novels. But then writing it, I just felt a little goofy. Like I don't know. I'm just not a fan of first person. And again, with the Anima Mundi Dark Alchemist influence, that's written from third person and it's written more like a storybook. So I kind of wanted to emulate that style. So now it's in third person. And, there's a secret other layer to that it may be written from someone else's perspective, but like I said, it's like that's a hint at something later on in the plot. Some other early story stuff is when I was first working on this, I had the idea of having a male love interest, but he's gone. He's dead. He's not. But it was like another one of those things where it's like, Margot would not go for this guy. Like, it doesn't fit into the plot. Forget about this. And then another thing is, as we were talking about Clara, so for Clara's plot, that was initially pretty different. So I had the initial idea that she would be in her cat form for much longer, and you would have more of this quest of reassembling her human body, so finding the parts and putting them all together. But then I felt like you weren't really getting any good quality time in with Clara. So that ended up being completely reworked, and I think the existing version of Clara is much better.
That interesting concept, but I have to agree with you. It's much better to have her as a person earlier on, so you can kind of get a better idea of her character and get to know her.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, a little puzzle game of stitching human parts sounds great as well, honestly.
Just Frankenstein yourself.
Yeah.
You did mention a male love interest. There was a potential plan for it. Was it her ex that you meet in the game, or was it someone else?
No, it wasn't him. It was just some other guy who would have this weird rivalry with her ex. I don't know. Like I said, it was a little dopey. I was also thinking if he would be like an online friend of Margot's, and then he comes and visits, but it just wasn't working.
Yeah, it's more streamlined this way.
Yeah.
So next question was actually what's coming next in Devil's Liminal, and what are you most excited to finish your review? And I think you kind of answered that, mentioning the soft launch of the early access, right? Is this the most exciting part?
Yes, yeah, for sure. Getting the early access up on itch.io and being able to publicly share the updates. So with some of the stuff coming up in there, I'll hint at it. So one of the things is that we start learning more about the inciting incidents of everything, a little more about the origins of Margot's family, that sort of thing. So we go to events from 500 years ago. We're going way back. And then another thing is there's a third secret romance route. So we start seeing some scenes with that character.
Oh. Okay.
Exciting.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Before we go, what do you want players to feel for after finishing Devil's Liminal?
Yeah, so when someone finishes the full version of the game, I want them to feel like very hopeful and optimistic. And I know that sounds a bit wild considering what we've covered, but I guess with this game and with whatever I make going forward, to me it's very important to end on a positive high note. So it's like I really like horror, but I understand it's not everyone's cup of tea. So I guess it's like I want someone to go through this journey with me and then see the light at the end of the tunnel and feel like it was very worthwhile. So I want it to be a story that feels like it's like about perseverance and about escaping the cycle of violence. And then at the end, you're like, very happy about how things turned out.
It's kind of a feel-good horror, basically.
Yes.
Well, that's the types of games that will make me like horror as a genre. So, yeah. And I wanted to ask you if you have any final message for the fans of your game and to those who haven't tried it yet.
Yes, for fans of the game, again, I really sincerely appreciate it. I really appreciate the support. Really hope you stick around for the full version of the game. I know it's taking a while, but it will get done. And then I guess some ways to help me in the meanwhile is, it's always free to share the game and tell other people about it, to rate and comment. And then if you pick up the early access version on itch, or if you join the Patreon or the Ko-Fi with the Patreon, I think I do have it set so there's a free tier. So just any little bit of hanging around keeps me motivated. So then I remember, like, I got to do it for them, And then for the people who haven't tried it yet, I've had some friends who say to me that they're kind of hesitant about playing the game because they're not a horror fan, and I understand. But like I said earlier, it is a horror game, but there is a happy ending. There's also a lot of fun dating stuff, so I think that's pretty good to check out. So it's not all scary and grim, and it is a very sincere story. Wrote it from the heart. So I hope there's a little something that people can connect with.
Well, you heard it, folks. Go support her. Sharing is free, and you might even fund future projects like this in the future by helping out this game.
Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for creating something so atmospheric. So, to everyone, go play the demo, wishlist it on Steam, and remember, commenting and supporting the project in early stages helps a lot.
Until next time, and remember, sometimes ghosts don't want revenge, they want company.